It's a blustery day in the middle of nowhere. Now, before we begin, there were two people on a bus that I took this field trip with, and I told them to subscribe to me. If one of them is Wolfie Frost, cool. If not, then it's some other guy. Still cool, and thanks to the other person, which might have been on the bus. So, when you run out of things to say, it just makes you want to begin a countdown. I don't even know why I'm doing this. I'm not even trying to be funny. Why have I this is a failure? Let me fix my hair. Let's put those with. Not gonna make an offensive joke. I'm retiring. Screw this. Okay, that was a good 10 seconds of retiring now. By the way, the only way... hold on, what was the word I was thinking of? Oh yeah. Yeah. The only reason I did all of that before, everything you saw in the video, was to waste a minute of your precious time. And frustrate you. Now, on with the countdown. Ha ha! This can't be right. There's no way this is right. We're making a countdown? That's positive? Yes, it's true. While it's easier for me to poke fun negatively, I have no problem with trying to lighten up, and the Kirby series is perfect for that. Not just because of the main character's looks, but also because Kirby is my second favorite video game franchise, only beaten by Pokemon. This is one of the few franchises that doesn't seem to have a single bad game. To show you just how much we think that, we're putting 10 games from it on the spot. Also, a quick warning, there will be spoilers for the final battle in every game we mention. Why are we spoiling so much? Well, for us, the final battle is part of what leaves a lasting impression in a Kirby game. The series never fails to make it awesome. So now, we're beginning the top 10 Kirby games.
Oh my god, it's the Nintendo 64 and there's 3D stuff and the controllers are cool and they're still using cartridges that don't get scratched. Wow!
That wow was very generic. Anyone want to play Super Nintendo? Hello? Fine, I'll just sit here by myself playing Kirby's Dream Land 3. Seriously, this is one of the most unpopular games in the series. Even now when people play it just to check it out, they're usually disappointed. But the only problem I really have with it is that the level design is sometimes pretty uninteresting. That, and why are so many songs in C major? You would only understand that if you were a music nerd. One of the most important additions in Kirby's Dream Land 3 is the animal helpers. Some of them are back from the prequel, but the three new ones are Pitch, Nago, and Choo Choo. Each one has their own specialty, such as Choo Choo's ability to climb ceilings. Pitch is usually the best choice. Now you might think that this is a calming, childish game, more so than other Kirby installments, so you go cruising along throughout the game without much of a problem, and then you beat King Dedede. Wow, look! Names of the enemies. Huh, I didn't know it was legal to name your child Loud. You want to go ahead and keep saying that Kirby's for little children? Well, if you want to actually finish the game and not get the bad ending, you'll need to play through with a bit more effort. Going back to get all the heart stars can sometimes be simple if you know what to do, but other times... How was I supposed to memorize how many of each color there was? That's ridiculous! And don't even get me started with the flower cleaning mission in World 4. How about we don't even talk about that one? Anyway, after receiving all the heart stars, you go back to fight King Dedede. Then when you beat him, you receive a wand and proceed to World 6. Dark matter shows up starting a fight with him. It's actually pretty tricky to dodge the dark lasers, and the petals sometimes cause a problem as well. But after enough shots, he's a goner. Okay, that couldn't have possibly been the big thing we saw in the bad ending. That's more like it. Zero is actually somewhat easy in terms of depleting his health, but dodging his attacks range in difficulty from medium to almost impossible. He has quite a few, like charging at you, throwing dark matter clones at you, and shooting blood? So much for being sunshine and rainbows. The game was like that up until this point. Anyway, moving on. When you take down all of Zero's health, Rated kids to adults, ladies and gentlemen, meaning the beginning is for kids and the end is for adults. So once that scene is over with, you defeat Zero's pupil as it tries to charge at you. Soon it spins around, spurting blood everywhere, and explodes. Popstar is saved. Aside from the controversial blood, this is a very exciting battle. Lots of phases, and in all honesty, I'd say the gore makes it even more memorable. Overall, Kirby's Dream Land 3 is overhated. If you take out the somewhat lazy level design, it gets made up for with lots of unique things. And the art design is just plain awesome. I always use colored pencils whenever I draw, and it happens a lot as someone who has a passion for design. So whenever I play this game, I feel like I'm looking at my own artwork. Definitely a special memory that starts off the countdown. You know how most Kirby games are. Pretty easy most of the time. Gets a bit harder towards the end, and gets pretty dang hard sometimes if you're going for 100%. Well, compared to almost every other game in the series, Kirby's Dream Land 2 is like... The first 3 worlds aren't bad, but the moment you start World 4, the difficulty takes quite a curve. But we're not here just to talk about the difficulty. This game introduced the 3 animal helpers that we didn't mention in the number 10 slot. Rick, Kine, and Ku. Rick is helpful on land, Kine is helpful in the water, and Ku is helpful in the air. This game also has more interesting level design than Dream Land 3. As a whole, they're more exciting. The music has the classic Game Boy sounds you would expect, and most of the songs are surprisingly catchy. This was also the first Kirby game to feature a bad ending. You get it in the same way, beating King Dedede without all the collectibles, and then seeing an enemy montage. But the bad news isn't quite as creepy. It just shows the final boss with a bad hairdo. Disclaimer, the final boss having a bad hairdo wasn't even my original joke. Seriously though, he should try something, I don't know, dumping water over his head. You haven't done it yet. I know. The trend is going away. You know the trend is going away? Do you know the trend is going away? I don't care if the trend is going away. You were challenged and you never did it. Okay, everyone who's seen this video, I nominate you. And my kitty cat. Just joking. Here we go. Ugh. Yep. Doesn't this look familiar? Seen something pretty similar to this in a different countdown, haven't you? Well, if there's any tips I can give before this, stay in school, kids. Don't drink and drive and drink and drive and drink and drive. Also, Mountain Dew might not be the best thing for you. If you continue to have problems with your hair, you could also try curling it. Okay, so if the game wasn't difficult enough from World 4 onward, just try getting all of the rainbow drops. There's one for each world, and they usually require very specific steps, be it a certain animal helper with a certain ability, or having to go back to certain or even multiple levels. You may have quite a bit of trouble. The rainbow drop in World 7 is by far the most annoying. The level containing it has about 1 million doors, and you have to choose 5 in particular. I spent almost 3 hours one time trying to find the exact path. You know, if you have Kine with the spark ability, you can just light up a dark room at the beginning and it tells you the answer? Okay, so once you finally have all the rainbow drops, you beat Dedede again and receive a rainbow sword. Dark Warrior rises out of Dedede's body, and you fight him. Man, oh man! This is by far the hardest Kirby boss I've ever beaten. What with all the recklessness Dark Warrior gives you. Plus, he's so fast compared to you, it's almost completely unfair. And that HP! It never goes down. If you somehow manage to beat him, you only have dark matter to take care of. His attacks are easier to dodge, but you still might have a bit of trouble, especially since you'll have so little HP by then. Not to mention, take too long to beat this guy and you'll instantly be destroyed. In short, Kirby's Dream Land 2 is a Game Boy classic. It's got cool music and level design, and the difficulty is what makes this game stand out among the others. The final battle is like the climax of how unforgiving it can be sometimes, so that in itself is memorable. You know, this year marks the 10th anniversary of the Nintendo DS. Before that time, touch controls were a new thing. Unless you count the pathetic failure known as the Gamecom. Some games were released and they were alright, but nothing truly special that took advantage of the new touch mechanic. We all thought the DS was something that everyone would just move on from and forget about, until we got our hands on Kirby Canvas Curse. Dear pomegranate coated cheese! This was exactly what Nintendo needed. You know what kinda sucks though? We don't have any pomegranate coated cheese. Kirby Canvas Curse gave popularity to the DS in the same way that Super Mario 3D Land gave popularity to the 3DS. Thanks to the subjective commercial, we were all interested in just how useful the stylus could be in this game. And boy was it. I don't think there's a single part of Canvas Curse where you have to use a button. If you think this game is going to follow the usual formula of Kirby walking around and hailing enemies, that can't exactly happen, because he got turned into a ball. Wasn't that magnificent, Kirby? You made our lives so much easier now that people can use you to play billiards. Actually, it might be easier because your stylus can create a path of ink for Kirby to roll and bounce across. Navigating the levels takes time to get used to, but once you know how to do it right, it becomes loads of fun flying around, ramming into enemies and other obstacles. Copy abilities also return, but they're used differently to make up for the fact that you're completely round. One of the best things about Canvas Curse is the boss minigames. King Dedede has you race him in a kart race, using your stylus to dodge obstacles and collect food in order to speed up. Greco or Greco Jr. pits you in somewhat of a pinball-style match against him, using the pen to create walls you can bounce off of. It lets you navigate the areas and defeat enemies until you reach the boss at the top. Now for the minigame people actually care about, Paint Panic. My god, this minigame is more addicting than even a few Mario Party classics. You trace shapes with the stylus to open up doors and allow Kirby to boost to the next area. Taking too long results in getting hit by a bomb enemy. Sometimes there's also keypads where you tap flashing panels until the keypad gets deactivated. Don't take too long here either, or else you get killed by a nail. Go right ahead with that logic. Now for the final battle against Drawcia. For me, it's one of the most iconic final boss battles in Kirby. Everything from the backgrounds of endless paint voids to the unique attacks like shooting volleyballs of energy to the catchy music. It's also entertaining. Sure, Drawcia's laugh may be annoying, but... yeah, which would you rather have? I know, it's like choosing your favorite child. From here, everything gets even more chaotic. The music backgrounds and attacks are all improved. What really sets the atmosphere is the map screen. It goes from mild blue static to intense and multicolored as the fight proceeds. It really makes you feel like it's all up to you. To sum it up, Kirby Canvas Curse has some interesting mechanics and levels, along with a great time of a final battle, with addicting minigames to boot. Mostly the music is just a bunch of remixes, but they're all done well, and the whole background design being nothing but paint shows lots of creativity. There will be a couple of times throughout the list where you'll be shocked that a certain game is a certain number. To start off with an example, number 7 is Kirby Triple Deluxe. Yes, it's true. While it was announced that there would be a Kirby game for the 3DS and we were all like... I finally got the finished product and was left a little disappointed. Let me at least try to explain. You know how some people didn't like Super Mario Galaxy 2 because it was too linear and not as innovative as the original? That's kind of how I feel about Triple Deluxe. Too much of a good thing is not a problem, mind you, but this game to me just felt rather simple and unsatisfying. Now that all the complaints are out of the way, let's talk about what left a lasting appeal. For one thing, every boss battle was enjoyable in its own way. From Paintra to Krakow to... You know what? Part of it was a real pain in the chronic stimulation. I don't even get started to do this one. In case you can't tell by the cover, one of the main things advertised in this game is the Hypernova ability. Basically, whenever you eat a miracle fruit, Kirby Mega evolves into a black hole times 250. You can move large objects, and let's just say you can also cause complete misery among anything else standing in your way. I mean, was this level of cruelty really necessary? Seriously, I actually feel kind of bad whenever I do something like this. See some enemies in the background and have a faucet nearby? No problem, just breathe through it like a madman until every last thing is sucked up and tortured through the faucet before landing right in your stomach. A few various minigames are introduced as well. Dedede's Drum Dash has you bounce across drums and proceed by harmonizing with the beat. It's short-lasting but a cool concept. There's also Kirby Fighters, which is basically just something to hold you over until Smash 4. You play as Kirbys with different abilities, and it's entertaining enough. But dear lord, the final battle is something else to behold. It is my second favorite final battle in Kirby, and probably the most well done. First you find out that Mass Dedede has come back, and that in itself is awesome. You defeat him just about the same way, and then his mash cracks, and holy tintinabulation, he's got an axe. So the fight gets more intense, and you beat him again and find out the true villain. You have a one-on-one fight with Queen Sectonia as she pulls no stops with her servants, lasers, and swords. So you get rid of that thing, and then she comes back making you move on to World 7. She starts covering up Popstar in a bunch of vines, and you plow through them with a cannon using Dedede's help as the flower people cheer you on. So, then you re-battle Queen Sectonia transformed into a giant flower and take out her minions until her plan backfires yet again. But you're still not done. She comes back a final time, and you beat her down with Hypernova, destroying every last part of her until you repel an enormous laser back at her, finishing the Queen's reign long at last. The music and backgrounds get more and more incredible with each fight, and all the creative ways of taking down each boss makes me forget the few problems that this game has. But what I really like about this game is how far Kirby goes to save King Dedede. When you stop and think all the times of pure hatred that the king has had for him, especially in the anime, it tends to amaze me that Kirby spent an entire adventure making absolutely sure that he's okay. It's one of those unusual, heartwarming bonds. Triple Deluxe, to sum it up, has certain things about it that stay in your mind. All of the bosses and the minigames, as well as what Kirby does in this game, each show that Hal still has it. By the way, if you're wondering why I haven't talked about certain parts of the postgame and certain secret fights that occur, I don't want to spoil too much about the most recent game in the series. But I'll just say this. It's unbelievable! Okay, who's doing the musical number? That actually stayed in the script? You must be joking. Well, who's our main man? Okay. Fine. You guys better hand me that cash. Do you want to build a snowman? Do you want to blow it up? Do you want to turn into a fish that can't do anything except turn left and right? Do you want to combine these two and turn into the worst ability of all? Do you want to be a fridge too? How about a Swiss Army knife? Nope, you sing too badly, not handing you the green stuff. Yes, here we go again with a shocking fact. Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, is only number 6. Boo us all you want, but we'll just get a single complaint out of the way. Some people don't like this game because it feels a bit slow sometimes. They have a point. The pacing can sometimes be a bit off. That's it, okay? That's our only complaint. The soundtrack has some of the best music in the entire franchise, so many classic tunes that perfectly fit the situation. Except this song. This song could be a little more, musical? Is that the word I'm looking for? Makes me wonder what the music for the next level sounds like. The design for this game may look a little clunky, almost looking like a PlayStation 1 game, but it has that nostalgic factor that kind of reminds me of the original Super Smash Bros. Okay, now on to what everyone talks about involving this game. The ability mixing. The song I sang earlier pretty much sums it up. Some of the results you get from combining abilities could be more satisfying, like the Ice Skate and Fiery Bow abilities, but what do you expect? There's like 50 different abilities in an N64 game. A lot of the results you can get are pretty dang cool, such as the fireworks abilities and some of the stone animals. As for the mini-games, there's a jumping race titled 100 Yard Hop and a fruit picking game. They're pretty fun, but the most hectic is Checkerboard Chase, a game where you knock off pieces of the board in order to make your opponent fall. The game even joins in by knocking them off for you. Or nobody in particular, really. Also, this is the last game in the series thus far to feature a bad ending. Defeating Miracle Matter without collecting all of the crystal shards causes you to leave early and not realize that some people are still possessed by dark matter. So you collect every last shard, which isn't really that hard actually, and then after beating Miracle Matter, World 7 opens up.